Would you rather is a fun game to play here, J. Lou. You've got a couple in baseball, some choices, and some price points that might be applicable.
Our contestant today is Super Dave Ross, our game show selecting Would You Rather in some futures markets for Major League Baseball. Let's begin.
Let's go.
To make the playoffs, to make the postseason, Would you rather, Dave Ross, have the Houston Astros, who yesterday's price is not today's price. It was $1.50 yesterday. It's $1.80 this morning after the Astros able to get by the San Francisco Giants last night. Yes, I know. In the Arizona Diamondbacks, nope, they're still at minus $1.40, although they pasted the Colorado Rockies yesterday. Would you rather, Dave Ross, have the Astros to make the postseason minus $1.80 or the Diamondbacks to make the postseason minus $1.40?
I mean, again, for the purposes of this contest, Your Honor, I must make a decision on the stand and give you an answer. I cannot plead the fifth over and over again. So I'm going to have to give you an answer. I wouldn't bet this, by the way, but if you made me, it would be the Stros. And you know this, Jensen, because this is a team I've been talking about all summer long. Like, man, can I start to take stock in the Astros at all? Didn't know exactly what they do at the trade deadline. Didn't do, I think, enough to really make you compelled that this is a team that's in it to win it big term. They might be in it enough to make the postseason, but I don't think they did enough to really get them to be playable to win the pennant and or a World Series. And the Snakes, a great story out there in the other desert. My problem is it's a one-way ship. If I'm getting on that price point, which is a better price point at $1.40 versus the $1.80, but you're not running down the Dodgers. Houston, I actually kind of have the double out, if you will, if they don't hold on and win the West. Well, they probably won't get the wild card, but they still could because the American League has been so underwater. And because teams like the Blue Jays, who are still under 500, still have a realistic shot, only 2.5 games back out of a wild card spot. That tells you kind of the depth of the American League versus the depth of the National League. It is not as good. So I get 2 bites of the apple with H-Town, even though I wish they did more at the trade deadline. Man, I don't know what's happened with Seattle. I don't know what's going on with Texas, but that's it. I actually think they have a better chance of winning the division than getting a wild card. I'd lay the bigger price point here and bite the bullet and take the Stros at $1.80.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our next category for Dave Ross. Would you rather take the Chicago Cubs to win the National League Central? Yesterday, the price was plus 330. Today, the price is plus 280. A little discount for you, perhaps. Or would you rather take the Boston Red Sox to win the American League East? It was 6-1 yesterday. It's plus 750 today. So again, Super Dave, your 2 price points: Cubs to win the Central today at plus 280, or the Red Sox to win the American League East at plus 750.
As instructed by counsel, I am exercising my constitutional right to take the Cubs at plus 330, Jensen Lewis. That's the way I go in this one here over the Sox. The Sox are actually mortal. I think we're finding out finally that it was not sustainable. What were they, 30-5 over 35? It was just a ridiculous stretch of baseball that the Red Sox played there. And now all of a sudden you lose 2 out of 3 to the A's of all teams. You lose a game yesterday to the Blue Jays. They're starting to gain a little bit more traction out there. And look, it's been a great story. It is a great story. The Red Sox are still a great story. But actually, I like what the Cubs did. And even though the Red Sox obviously very aggressive getting Rushman here, and we'll see what Adley looks like once he's healthy here for the Red Sox. But to me, I like what the Cubs did even more. You talked about it with Kevin Gausman and the additions to the rotation. And of course, I've got a ticket on the Brewers at 5-1 to be the number 1 seed, so I don't want this to happen. But out of these 2 choices, I actually think the Cubs have the opportunity to get red hot here down the stretch and run down Milwaukee. And I do think it's important to win those divisions. And I don't know that the Sox can run down the Rays. I mean, you picked the Rays to have the most wins this month. They haven't lost a game yet. So to me, I think there's more possible cracks coming with the Brewers than are coming with the Rays. And for that reason, I would take the smaller price point, plus 330. The Northsiders have the better chance to run down the Brew Crew. All
right, Chicago Cubs since the All-Star break, 15-8. Milwaukee, 15-8. Boston, since the All-Star break, 18-6. Tampa Bay 16-8. So we will keep track of that. Showcase Showdown will be later on when the regular season finishes. We'll see who's won the big prize. Speaking of a couple of games I wanted to feature with you today, and we talked with Matt Youmans earlier in the program. If you're just joining us, make sure you give us a like and follow for our By the Books podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I know that he is going to have to make a decision here sooner than later, Dave, on monetizing the Cam Schlittler 300-1 AL Cy Young ticket he has. Dylan Cease on the mound today. And I am kind of shocked that he is just a $1.48 favorite. I don't have a feel yet because I do want to see where lineups are later on this afternoon. But this kind of felt like a little bit of a short price, albeit I might be missing something here. But right now, the only lean I would have would be on the under 7.5. And right now, just seeing that there are sevens that are pretty much around the landscape. The 7.5 still available at Circa. I would pounce on that immediately because I think you're seeing the market trend much more south to push that total down to 7. Takeaways for you from what you saw yesterday. And again, the infamous fourth out that we may never see in our lifetimes again. But now that Boston, it's kind of cooled off here a little bit. And they could not keep up an 850 winning percentage. Like we're all realists about that. But any takeaway from watching, it's again, a lower scoring game for Boston. Now they got the Cy Young odds on favorite, or at least one of the favorites here in Dylan Cease. Would you want to back the Blue Jays after a nail biter win yesterday?
I'd like to. Again, the only two games they've lost since the trade deadline, Toronto, was one that Dylan Cease start where he was spectacular in the north side of Chicago, and they couldn't hold a 2-0 lead with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. And then the extra inning affair against Philadelphia to close out that series, which could have been a sweep. So they're playing all these super tight games, Toronto. And that's because, Jensen, they don't score. Right? They don't score a whole lot. So, I mean, again, under 7.5 to me, and certainly if you want to get involved in the first 5, I'd look in that scenario here in this game today because I just don't see runs coming. Look, Dylan Cease is shoving every time he goes out. And I mentioned this before that Cubs game here in the network that I did think that was where the flip in the voting happened and in the odds, if you will, that all of a sudden the odds board made Cease the favorite and flipped that, right? He's been that good. Another higher profile game against a potential team. I don't know if you can run down the Sox at this juncture for a wild card, but if you're going to run down anybody here in the wild card and you're Toronto, these are must wins. When you're throwing out Dylan Cease out there, you got to win these starts that he has. Now, how are they going to score enough runs? And that's the problem that I have with Toronto. Look, the only reason why I made that play at 13-1, Jensen, was because the pitching. We like what they did at the deadline. And even though they moved on from Soriano, they replaced him right away in the lineup, in the rotation. So, like, we know they've got pitching. I just have concerns about can they hit enough down the stretch to make that 13-1 realized. I love where I sit there. I do like them today, but what is it, Jensen? 3 runs? Is that what you're hoping for in a Dylan Cease start? That's good enough to get you that W?
I think the under is where I would go right now. And again, on the flip side, it is Dylan Cease, not only for the Blue Jays, but it's going to be Patrick Sandoval, the left-hander there for the Boston Red Sox. Speaking of left-handers, real quickly, Blake Snell will be activated off the injured list for the LA Dodgers. That is a 272. Yes, you have to lay almost $3 on the money line for the Dodgers. Matt Youmans did say he kind of likes the Michael Wacha angle, plus 218. Dave may revisit this a little bit later on this afternoon when we ultimately see where some of the lineups are for the late games. But just a couple of starters we will have a keen eye on and obviously recap those starts tomorrow for the Daily Diamond as well.
I'm telling you, the Kansas City Royals are the best bad team I've ever seen in baseball. They figure out new ways to lose like they did again last night, Jensen. It is mind-boggling.